Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We've only got 30 minutes today. I want to make sure we're respectful of your time. So thank you and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on the part of the world that you're joining us from today. We appreciate you coming to Kensington's webinar today. This is the second in our hybrid work series. Today, it's thriving in the hybrid work environment, protecting our data and devices, which has become so incredibly important as people are moving around more and going to and from home or into the office. So today we're going to go through things pretty quickly. We will have some different tools and resources for you to be able to use after this, and we certainly encourage you to reach out to us at sales@kensington.com. But basically today we're going to go through some statistics as to why this topic is important. If you're joining today, most likely you already know it's important, but determining what we can do to help protect your data and devices through biometrics, protecting your screen through privacy screens, and protecting your device through some different types of locks. And then we will have a Q&A time at the end, so please feel free to type in questions throughout. So you don't have to think of them at the end, and then we will collect and answer those at the end. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to one of our two hybrid work specialists here. First is Santiago to talk about biometrics, and then I'll be talking about the privacy screen, and then Matt on the locking.
Thank you, Lisa. So to start, of course, as Lisa mentioned, there's a lot of people working remote right now, and remote work has become pretty much a reality for millions of workers. They are using different softwares for collaboration, secure communications, different cloud tools to just stay connected during work or wherever they're working from. And of course, this has some challenges, and this has some new elements of risk, which involve, more data being accessed by people that don't have authorized access to that information, and also some software limitations that they need to overcome. So 94% of cybersecurity professionals are very concerned about working from home, and also the security more than before the pandemic. So 94% of people are more concerned working right now after COVID, just because they feel less secure from working from home. They have been exposed to more fraudulent emails. There's a lot of phishing attempts, and also there is poor infrastructure at home when working remote or on the at home. 90% of a screen exposure where confidential information is being exposed, and also 61% of businesses have reported that they have lost laptops, or they have lost information. So all these are very shocking statistics for anyone that is trying to work right now, and then they're trying to overcome all these security flaws. Next slide. So with COVID, we have been exposed to a lot of different things, and things have changed. 25% of employees have noticed a lot of fraudulent attempts, whether it's an email or a phishing attempt, or any type of fraudulent try to access their information. Also, the cyber criminals, they have been getting more. I guess they have been using different tactics, and they have been switching and taking advantage of the fact that people is more or feel more secure at home, because that's their safe space, and they let their guard down, and they're more, I guess, vulnerable to just click an email and gain access to their data. Also, the network infrastructure has changed. Before, we were working at a office with an enterprise security equipment where you had like different firewalls and different things that will be taking care of that security aspect. But not working remote or working from the office, whether it's wired or wireless, both of them, they lack the security and the infrastructure that you had compared to working in an enterprise or a corporate environment. With also, along with all these things, corporations are being trying to apply different measures to prevent for physical loss of their devices, and also to block unauthorized access for different information or data stolen. Next slide. So with all this background information, biometrics has become a very useful tool for whether it is second factor authentication or multi-factor authentication, and using biometrics to protect that data. So who is using biometrics today? I think all of us in some way or form were using biometrics on our smartphones. I think all of their smartphones today, they use biometrics, whether it's face recognition or fingerprint recognition. Some of them, they use different type of, I guess, second factor for accessing services, but 62% of companies are already using some type of biometric authentication, whether it's for logging into a service or for a collaboration service that they use or a software. And if they're not using it now, 24% of them are planning on using it in 2 years from now. Today, smartphones are the highest use of biometrics. They use fingerprint, face, or some of them they use also voice recognition. Laptops comes at number two with the introduction of new ways of authentication, such as Windows Hello for Windows or Touch ID for Macintosh or fingerprints for Chrome OS. So tablets, and then we have more devices that are using biometrics today. Next slide. So with the use of biometrics, what is really driving this is FIDO. So FIDO is just an alliance of different companies and applications that are just aiming to improve the security and also the way of logging into those services. With FIDO, you have different technologies. One of them is U2F, which is Universal Second Factor Authentication, which is just a way of authenticating with a second factor on your service or your device. They use security keys, or they can use different biometric devices. Some of them they use push or codes to log in and provide that second factor authentication. And then the evolution of FIDO is FIDO 2, which is the latest generation of U2F protocol, which also combines CTAP1 and CTAP2, which are different protocols for passing the information to the service, as well as web authentication. So with web authentication and on CTAP, what we're enabling those services to do is just use biometrics for logging in using security keys or biometric authentication devices to log in to those online services. So now that we're talking about biometrics, at Kensington, we have different biometric devices. They are all very different than each other. Basically, the first question that you have to ask yourself is which operating system am I using for biometrics? Second question will be which services am I using? And then the third question will be what type of deployment will this be applied to? So currently we have five different keys, or four different keys, and one has a USB-A and a USB-C type of connection. With the first generation VeriMark, it's basically a Windows Hello enabled device, which will work with U2F services, and it's a USB-A connection. VeriMark IT is very similar to VeriMark. The only difference is that it also works on Windows Hello for Business, and also it's FIDO 2 compatible. VeriMark Desktop is more of a combination of both of them. It is a desktop unit which connects to your desktop using, it has a really long cable. You can use Windows Hello for Business, as well as FIDO 2 compatible services. And then the last one is a VeriMark Guard. We just recently launched. VeriMark Guard comes in in USB-A connection and USB-C connection. And this one is a cross-platform, which means that it will work on different operating systems, and it will just be a plug-and-play device. And it's very useful for customers working on the go on different operating systems. And it's also integrated with Azure for Windows Active Domain. So with biometrics, basically you're protecting your devices, you're protecting your data, you're providing that second factor authentication or multi-factor authentication for any type of deployment services that you guys have. it's very important to use some type of, I guess, second factor or multi-factor authentication in this day and age where data is more important than the actual physical computer. You lose your computer, you can replace it, but the data that is lost, it cannot be replaced. And if it gets to the wrong hands, then that data can be compromised. So I'm going to pass it on to Lisa. She's going to talk about privacy screens. Lisa?
Thanks, Santiago. And I can tell you that VeriMark is such an interesting product. It's so cool in all the abilities that it has. Privacy screens now are a little bit more simplistic form of privacy, but still just as important. So I'm going to go into just a few of the types of reasons why we do look at privacy screens and what types of adhesives or attachments there are. So blue light has been a really big buzzword during COVID as we're spending a lot more time looking at the screen. Basically, it is considered a carcinogenic pollution that basically does give us a higher risk of cancer. But there's also different issues as far as the exposure with the cataracts and the unnecessary eye strain that can cause blurry vision and headaches. And it also disrupts our sleep cycle. So if you've noticed that you're having a lot of trouble sleeping at night because you're looking at your phone or your computer screen directly before bedtime, a lot of that is because of the blue light that's emitted out of our electronic devices. And that does include your phones, computers, TVs, basically everything we've been doing for the last however many months we've been in COVID. So symptoms of too much exposure are the headaches that can be related to eye strain, again, that trouble sleeping, and then even vision loss or just feeling that extreme fatigue. So privacy screens really do help mitigate up to a certain percentage of that blue light that comes out of your screen. So that's protecting yourself. But then if we look into the data and devices that we're actually protecting, if we can go to the next slide, I can't tell you how many times I've been on a flight home from somewhere and the person next to me has their work email up and they're just typing away, and you see in big bold letters, confidential, do not read. And I can read it plain as day right next to that person because they don't have a privacy screen on. So as travel picks up, as people are moving from office to working maybe in a cafe, hackers can easily bypass just by simply glancing over your shoulder or snapping a photo of your screen from a distance if you don't have a privacy screen to protect it. They really truly act as that first line and simple way of defending the data that's typically displayed on your screen. And when you're in the office and everybody's privy to the knowledge that's there, it's not as big of a deal, except if you're in different departments and that type of thing. But as we're working in this more telecommuting type of way of working, it's at utmost importance to have those privacy screens on every single device that would have that confidential information. So a form of this is called visual hacking. And basically this happens so frequently with our phones, with our computers, and it's just the idea, visual hacking is this growing trend that just viewing or capturing that private or sensitive data on the screens without even meaning to expose it. So I really highly encourage you to take a look at how many devices you have in your company and you're not protecting those today as people are returning to the office, and get in touch with us. Let us know how we can help you with those devices. So the last slide for privacy screens is just simply going through the types of attachments that we have. They're not sticky and all kinds of mess to put them on there. There is the direct to screen, which basically easily installs either on your laptop or your desktop. There's a framed, which just kind of snaps onto your monitor, and you can easily move it from monitor to monitor. So if one person doesn't want it on versus does want it on, that's an easy solution there. And then my favorite is the magnetic, where there's no tools or adhesive needed, but it attaches to the built-in frame on the edge of our computer screens. So very easy to use, and certainly one of those most important things as we enter the office and people are traveling more. I'm going to hand it over to our other hybrid work specialist today, Matt, who's going to be talking through some of our lock solutions.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate that. So, I think that we can all agree we are a more mobile society, right? thinner, lighter devices with expanded battery capacities. It allows us to easily travel from one place to the next with our laptops or tablets in tow. Whether it's our corporate offices to our home offices or coffee shops, summer vacation rentals, the beach, you name it. We don't work in the same places in the same spaces that we used to. And if we go on to the next slide here, we can see that the statistics really support this change. Looking at this slide, we can see that tablet sales are forecasted to grow by 11.7%, and laptop sales are expected to grow by 8.8%. But take a look at desktop sales. They're forecasted to be down almost 10%. However, being on the go and traveling from one destination to the next brings about a whole other opportunity, and that's an opportunity of theft. We heard from Santiago earlier about protecting against hacking and network breaches with VeriMark, right? And Lisa shared some great information about protecting against visual hacking and keeping sensitive information away from prying eyes by using privacy filters. I too have been on those flights where you look across at your neighbor, your roommate, and are able to see that confidential information on their screen. So privacy filters are huge to protect that information. But the third piece of the security puzzle, it really has to do with physically securing the corporate devices to keep them from disappearing, keep them from growing legs and walking away. After all, if you think about it, a stolen corporate laptop can really be the gateway into a company's network, putting sensitive information at risk. So what's a simple way to protect against that physical theft? Using a Kensington cable lock is the ideal way to do this. So Kensington has been manufacturing cable locks for well over 30 years. We have the broadest portfolio of solutions to fit virtually every scenario, if I can speak today. Whether the device has a standard security slot or if it has a wedge slot or even the newest Kensington Nano slot, we have a lock for it. Maybe an organization has a mixture of devices with the different types of security slots, and that's okay too, of course. Something like our new 3-in-1 cable lock that includes attachments for all 3 types of security slots would be an ideal solution. So it allows you to deploy just one lock, one solution that would cover multiple devices. There are several features that set our cable locks apart from other products on the market, such as our 5mm keying system. We use our 5mm keying system across the board with all of our latest keyed lock solutions. And this really allows us to custom build our locks to open with just one master key, making it easier on a corporate IT team to access company assets, regardless of the type of lock being used. So it doesn't really matter if you're using a standard notebook lock to secure a device, or if it's a Surface Pro lock that's clipped onto the stand of the Surface Pro, or even one of our desktop and peripheral locking kits. They all use that same 5mm keying structure. So essentially you have one key that rules them all. Another great feature is our custom keying options. So Kensington locks can be built in 3 different access types to meet an organization's needs. And those 3 types are master keyed, supervisor keyed, and light keyed. So with a master keyed lock, IT basically has a set of master keys that can open every lock in their arsenal, while employees only have the keys to open their device only. So this is ideal for environments where users are responsible for their own hardware and they can take their device with them, whether it's to meetings or home or what have you. With our supervisor keyed locks, those are built so only IT or company management has keys to open locks. You can think of this as securing computer training lab equipment or call center hardware. With that supervisor keyed lock, computer equipment really stays in its place and it's only accessed when needed to be pulled out for service or relocated by IT. And then lastly, our light keyed access is used to protect against external theft. And the way that I always think about this is if you were at a trade show or some sort of an event where you had to secure hardware, employees working that event or showing off those products or those devices would all need to access the same hardware so they could have one key that's the same that opens all of their locks. So you're protecting against those external folks that may walk off with a device. And then lastly, our register and retrieve system. Register and retrieve is a free tool on the Kensington.com website that can be used by organizations to keep records of key codes or lock combinations. There are options to allow locks and key codes to be assigned to employees so you know who has what. It provides a method to retrieve forgotten combinations or even reordering replacement keys, just to name a few of the features. Again, register retrieve is completely free. It makes it easy to manage locks across an organization. So believe it or not, there are laptops on the market that don't have a built-in security slot, and that's okay too. We have ways to secure those devices. And these solutions are also ideal for the hybrid work environment as well. So you can see in this slide kind of the evolution of some of our locking designs in our laptop locking station family. So starting on the left, our laptop locking station that was released in 2016 has an adjustable arm that slides out to fit the width of the laptop. And once the laptop is in position, the arm is closed and the lock is secured closed, trapping the laptop. So you use a standard cable lock, whether it's keyed or combination, whichever is preferred. So pretty cool, right? I mean, you have a way to secure that device that doesn't have that security slot. But we took it to the next level and created an NFC locking station. So instead of having to fumble with cable locks or keys, you simply wave the key fob across the reader, drop your laptop in, you squeeze the arms together, and the device is secured. When you need to unlock it, you wave that fob across the reader, the arms release, and off you go. So you kind of see this the way that this style of solution evolves. And think about this in a shared workspace or a hybrid workspace environment, whether it's a hoteling or a hot desking style of situation. Doesn't matter as long as you have that fob. Doesn't matter where you sit or what you use, because you have a master keying or a master fob functionality with these types of devices. Well, kind of the last solutions on this slide here, we took that NFC docking style solution, or we started to integrate into a locking solution docking functionality. So not only do you secure the laptop, or in the case of the Surface Pro at the top of that image, but you also provide connectivity to support your peripherals, your external monitors, your mice, your keyboards, etc. So with the Surface Pro, you drop it into the cradle, it's secured with the lock module, and like I said, while cradled, it's being charged and providing or performing all of the functionality that you would expect out of a docking station. So kind of this evolution to move everything all into a single simple solution to secure a device. So just to kind of wrap things up again, why do we look at Kensington? Why the Kensington brand? So we're the creators of the first laptop lock, and we've been building laptop locks and security solutions for over 30 years. We have the innovation and the designs to support the variety of devices that are out on the market. We were putting our solutions through rigorous testing, and we test against things like shearing or cut strength, lock picking, pull strength. We even look at environmental conditions like extreme heat and cold, or salt spray for corrosion, anything that's going to try to wear down that lock. We push our products to the limits to ensure that they exceed expectations and that you receive the very best security products that we have to offer. We offer our register and retrieve lock management tool to help keep track of lock combinations and key codes, and giving the ability to order replacement keys. And again, our newest locks, they all feature our 5mm common keying system with the hidden pin technology that really helps to prevent against those locks being picked, keeping your hardware secured. Our custom keying options allow our keyed locks to be built in a variety of access types, depending on the needs of the organization. And whether it's master keyed, supervisor keyed, or light keyed, we have the right options to fit an organization's needs. And if combination locks are preferred, we also have our serialized solutions. And those allow users to access their own locks, but provides IT with the ability to look up a lock's combination based on the lock's serial number. So, we realize that there are several security options to choose from in the Kensington line, but don't panic. For assistance in determining the best locks, to secure your hardware, we have our great lock configurator on our website at kensington.com, or you can always feel free to reach out to us at sales@kensington.com. Whatever you need, we're here to help you.
Thanks so much, Matt and Santiago. I appreciate it. Now, Cole is going to look at the questions that have come in, and we've had a few that have come in. And so with that, just make sure that you drop any other additional questions you may have in the chat. Otherwise, Cole, if you want to go through the couple questions maybe that came in.
Of course. And again, thank you all for presenting such great information today. And our first question we'll go through today, Wendy asked this will be for Santiago with biometrics. Wendy asked about if we can have more than one user using a biometric device, such as the VeriMark or the VeriMark desktop. kind of how that works.
Oh, Santiago, you're muted.
Oops, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
There is a difference between a fingerprint reader and a biometric authenticator. So a fingerprint reader is something like you will see at a gym or an access control center or any type of retail, where the fingerprint relies on the integration with the operating system and then match the templates on the host, versus a pass or fail token found on biometric authenticator devices. So with biometric authentication devices such as VeriMark, is meant to provision to only authorized users, and there is a limitation of how many fingerprints you can have in a VeriMark device, and that's 10. So these 10 fingerprints can be used on Windows for logging in under different users, or they can be added to different services to log in and provide a second factor authentication for those services. So it's important to understand the difference between this type of solution versus a more commercial solution for gyms or other things for using your fingerprint as a method of, to determine which person is using that, or who you are to access that facility.
All right. Thank you, Santiago, for that answer. And I guess another popular question we have about biometrics, since you brought up match on host and match in sensor. So as far as isolating your fingerprint and holding on to that fingerprint, where is the fingerprint stored and how do those two areas differ as far as storing your fingerprint on the device?
Yeah, so we don't really store any type of fingerprint. We store templates from the fingerprint. So in your fingerprint, you're going to see different, they're called valleys and ridges. And we just take different templates using different points on the fingerprint. And we store those templates on whether it's match on host or match in sensor. So match in host basically use the template stored on the host device and also match it with the template on the fingerprint reader. And basically, once the template that is recorded on the fingerprint reader matches the template that is on the host device, you will provide access or authorized access. On a match in sensor technology, it's a little bit different. The template is completely isolated from the host and is just a pass or fail. So the fingerprint is encrypted and stored on the security key or the biometric reader. And then when you connect it and you try to authorize on a service, it will just pass or fail based on the correct finger or the incorrect finger being scanned.
And I will say on that, Santiago, too, biometrics can be really confusing if you're just getting into the biometric market or considering it for your company. So if you feel like there is more questions that we're not answering today, we know we only have 30 minutes. Feel free to reach out to us, Santiago or Matt or one of our other specialists is certainly happy to help you with that as well.
Yes. And another question that we got in the chat, a really great one from Tammy, was asking about a cross-reference tool to ensure the correct size privacy screen. And for that, we do offer a privacy screen finder here on the Kensington website, which Lisa brought in the chat earlier too. But this finder cross-references across multiple different variants. You can use the model of your monitor or laptop, as well as the screen size and the screen ratio, which is a very great tool to find the right privacy screen for you. And as Matt mentioned earlier, if you're going into security, we also have a lock selector tool on the website, which is very well at helping find the right lock for you based on your slot, as well as the model of your laptop or PC device. I'm dropping that in the chat as well.
Yeah, thanks, Cole. Both of those are such great resources that you can just make it as simple as possible to find the right size or fit, as there are hundreds of different models of screens and laptops that are out there. I think that was all of the immediate questions. We answered a couple throughout the presentation. If we didn't get to your question or you do have others, please do feel free to shoot us an email. Otherwise, if you did not get the URL from today, you can find those at kensington.com under resources. And there's also great things like blogs, white papers, case studies, and more as far as how these solutions have helped other companies. And we're certainly with you guys as we're trying to navigate all of this hybrid work scheduling that's new to all of us, but we've been working with a lot of customers out there, figuring out what their challenges are, working through them, and are happy to help you guys as different solutions or challenges come up.
Thank you all so much for attending, and we hope to see you next week in the part 3 of our webinar series. Thank you for coming today, and have a great rest of the day.